Convention on the Rights of the Child, adopted by General Assembly Resolution 4425 of November 20, 1989. Part 3, Article 46. This convention is open for signature by all states. Article 47. This convention is subject to ratification. The instruments of ratification shall be deposited with the Secretary-General of the United Nations. Article 48. This convention is open for accession by any state. The instruments of accession shall be deposited with the Secretary-General of the United Nations. Article 49. 1. This convention shall enter into force on the 30th day after the date of deposit with the Secretary-General of the United Nations of the 20th instrument of ratification or accession. 2. For each state that ratifies or accedes to this convention after the deposit of the 20th instrument of ratification or accession, this convention shall enter into force on the 30th day after the deposit by such state of its instrument of ratification or accession. Article 50. 1. Any state party may propose an amendment and submit it to the Secretary-General of the United Nations. The Secretary-General shall then transmit the proposed amendment to the states parties with a request to indicate whether they are in favor of convening a conference of the states parties to consider and vote on these proposals. If, within 4 months from the date of such communication, at least 1/3 of the states parties favor such a conference, the Secretary-General shall convene that conference under the auspices of the United Nations. Any amendment adopted by a majority of the states parties present and voting at this conference shall be submitted to the General Assembly of the United Nations for approval. 2. An amendment adopted in accordance with paragraph 1 of this article shall enter into force upon approval by the General Assembly of the United Nations and acceptance by a 2/3 majority of the states parties. 3. When an amendment enters into force, it becomes binding on those states parties that have accepted it, while the provisions of this convention and any previous amendments that they have accepted remain binding on other states parties.